My name is Jenelle Riley. I'm an editor at Variety, and I'm so thrilled to welcome you to this Q&A with Schmigadoon. Please join me in welcoming today's guests. We have creator showrunner Cinco Paul. We have producer, and she stars as Melissa, Cecily Strong. The actor who plays Doc Lopez, Jaime Camil. The actor who portrays Betsy McDonough, Dove Cameron.
Hi, baby.
The terrifying Mildred Layton. Please welcome Kristin Chenoweth.
Jungle treasure.
The actor who portrays Emma Tate, Ariana DeBose. She plays Florence Menlove, the best named character in the show, Ann Harada. And of course, Countess Gabrielle Jane Krakowski. Thank you all so much for being here.
Yeah.
This is such a great show. I know it's a parody of iconic musicals, but it's also legitimately a great musical with great characters. Before we get into the show, I actually want to ask each of you, what was sort of your first musical, the gateway musical that made you fall in love with the genre, whether it was something you were actually acting in or something you just saw on stage? And let's start with Cecily, because she looks like she has an answer.
Well, I know Cinco's answer.
You do?
I do. I'm sorry.
Everyone else's answer.
Yes, I'll give Cinco. Cinco, you give Dev's. I think the first I saw, my grandma used to introduce me to movie musicals, and I think the first one I saw was Oliver, which of course I loved, but I think the one I was most in love with first was South Pacific.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought the mute girl was I wanted to be her.
Really?
Because she was pretty. And I had a crush on Lieutenant Joe Cable, but I talk a lot. I didn't end up being that kind of female character.
Cinco, what about for you?
Well, I mean, it's a couple that I saw Oliver very early on, which I fell in love with. And then Singing in the Rain, I saw early on, and I saw Donald O'Connor do Make Him Laugh. And I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. And so that's where it started. And also my mom played these cast recordings constantly. So it's Camelot, South Pacific, Guys and Dolls, just fell in love at a very early age. I was a very odd child.
No, this sounds completely normal to me, actually. I love it.
And you've totally grown out of it.
Yeah.
That's wild now. Yeah.
Jane, what about for you?
Well, I grew up with my parents' passion and interest was in community theater. So I grew up around a community theater. So I was influenced by all the musicals my parents were doing as their hobby and their love. Oliver is one of my first ones, and the first boy I ever kissed during Spin the Bottle played Oliver. And I fell in love with the guy who played Jesus, so that complicated things for me.
Perfect.
But I'd say in the Broadway theater world, when I first started coming to see musicals, it was the original cast of Chicago. Yeah. And I remember watching Gwen Verdon and Chita Rivera up there with the amazing Jerry Orbach as well. And just my mouth being on the floor and going, I want to do what they're doing. I just love that they were strong, sexy females. They were quirky, but they were the leads. There was just so much in it that inspired me and always made me want to do this and be that kind of heroine, that kind of woman.
That's so cool. Forgive me for not knowing, but have you ever done Chicago?
I have not.
It seemed like a no-brainer.
Maybe one day.
Sure does. It sure does.
Maybe one day.
I'll be your Billy.
The movie, girl, the movie.
Ariana, for you?
It's really bad that my answer is not West Side Story. First, hey, no, I think I really fell in love with musicals. It was the Bandwagon, Sid Charisse and Fred Astaire. Yeah, that was really what got me. And then the first musical, actually, I think it was the second musical I ever saw on Broadway, was Aida. And I loved the music. My God, Elton John, whew, did his thing with that. But I really wanted to be Amneris. Everybody's like, "You'd be a great Aida," and I was like, "Nope, nope, definitely not. A little too serious." I really wanted to be Amneris. That has yet to come to pass, and you know what? I think that might be okay. But yeah, those were my
You've made peace with it.
inspirations. I did make peace with it. Also, Sound of Music, which tracks for our show. So there you go.
Jaime, what about for you?
Oh, well, I come from a small town called Mexico City. So we did not have the big musicals playing there. They came much after, but I remember watching a show called El Diluvio que Viene after the deluge, ¿cómo se dice? The rain, the big rain coming and everybody.
Oh, deluge.
Deluge. Thank you. After the deluge, exactly. And I watched this play, which is originally from Italy, and it's a beautiful, beautiful play about God calling a priest, telling him that he's going to send another, like he's going to flood everything because no one is behaving. And I saw that play in Mexico, and I exactly just like Jane, I was like, I want to do that. I want to be on top of what they're doing and doing that. So it was El Diluvio que Viene. That was for me.
And for you?
Well, I guess the first movie I remember really caring about was The Wizard of Oz. And I also remember that was the first time I ever heard a song, was like, I've got to learn how to sing that song, which was Over the Rainbow. And keep in mind, kids, we did not have the internet. So I had to go to the library and look up the words.
Yes.
And learn it
Tell the
like
library.
that. And I just feel like certainly of the golden age canon, Oklahoma is my favorite musical. I remember watching the movie, and I remember seeing it on stage because we did it several times. I mean, they did it in our community theater, several times. And I just love it. I just think there's something so pure about that show. And my goal is to play Aunt Eller someday, and I hope that I will. Yeah, that's that.
Dove, what about for you?
I was really lucky. My mom was really passionate about musical theater when I was growing up, and she would travel a lot for her work. And so she would always come back with, how when you're a kid, you're like, where's my present? And everywhere.
Get me.
And me still. Mom would come back with whatever was like the new current show that was like the big hit show. And I started out on Rent when I was like 2 years old, dressing up in my mom's clothes and singing things that a 2-year-old shouldn't be singing. And then of course it was obviously Wicked. But I also feel I was raised on also like the VHS Jesus Christ Superstar. Also when Netflix was just a DVD delivery service, I remember very, very big impression on me was the David Hasselhoff version of Jekyll and Hyde.
Wow.
I fell in love with that was when I fell in love with the character of Lucy, which was one of my dream roles since I was like 8 years old or something. I remember watching Linda Eder do that role, and then becoming obsessed with her and watching her do Man of La Mancha and everything like that. Lucy's still one of my dream roles, but I would say that my all-time like favorite musical ever is The Light in the Piazza, and I was lucky enough to be doing that.
Which you did.
Not to do that.
She was amazing.
I think we intended this question to be such a timestamp on all of us. Let's answer.
Yeah.
It's giving away a lot more than maybe what we intended. But
Yes, I was also doing the math when she said she listened to Rent It too. I was like, Kristin, for you?
The hills are alive with the sound of music. I saw that and I knew that I wanted, because I had this kind of mature voice, not in my speaking, obviously. My singing, and my parents are engineers and we're like, what do we do with this child? And then the first show so that's really what inspired me to want to sing like that. And then of course, the first show that really, really stuck with me, and Jane, I can't believe you didn't say this show,
a chorus line.
Oh.
I was cast inappropriately as Val boobs, but I was only 16. I didn't have any boobs. And we were in Oklahoma, so we did boobs and butt. I was boobs and butt, and that happened. That actually happened. But yeah, those are probably two of my favorites. I also do love the complexity of the musical Gypsy between mother and daughters.
Me too. My high
And
school did
strippers.
chorus line, and we had to change it
And
to Q&A.
Yeah.
My high school did this and that.
Mine too.
This and that.
That's how they
Smart.
changed it.
Yeah. It was
I
this
can't
and
believe I thought mine was boobs and butt. That's pretty
that. That
bad.
was too much for our school. Yeah.
How did you have that many people in your high school who could dance?
We couldn't.
Oh, we didn't.
We couldn't.
I didn't
I
say it
paid
was good.
big money to see that, Cinco.
The first line was like Star Wars for me. Like, you know, everyone says how many times they saw Star Wars when it came out. Like, that's what it was like. Chorus line was my Star Wars. I saw it 9 times.
Me too. Me too.
So good.
Great show. And I love, like I said, not only is Schmigadoon parodying these great musicals, it's a really good story. It's a really great musical in and of itself. Cinco, I understand you wrote all the songs in addition to being showrunner and co-creator. Where did this even begin? Is this something you've been wanting to do for a while?
Yeah, it's actually an idea that's about 25 years old. And but I didn't know what to do with it, you know? So I sat on it for a long time because I didn't know, is it a movie? Is it a stage? You know, what is this? And then finally, because the television landscape had changed and I was ready to do new things, leave animation, I considered TV, and it seemed like the sort of the perfect place for it. And thank heavens, Apple decided that they wanted to make it, because it's a pretty crazy idea, but it really was 100% a dream come true, finally getting to make this show. It's crazy that we all got to do it.
I mean, did you ever imagine when you started out that you would have a cast like this with all these Tony winners and Oscar winners and Emmy winners?
Never in a million years.
Yeah,
Never.
in my wildest dreams, maybe in my which I have, you know, I tend to have elaborate fantasies about stuff like this, so I fantasize about it. But yeah, every time we got someone else signing on, it was just, I can't believe we're getting this person. Like, how is this happening? It was amazing.
I actually thought it was a Dreamcast. When Cinco tells me this is going to be playing in this and this, and I'm like, oh, well, this is your Dreamcast. This is who you would want in your wildest dream to work with. And he was like, no, they're actually confirmed. And then I fainted a little.
Cecily, you also serve as a producer on this show.
Yes, she does.
How did the project come to you? Did it come to you as an actor or producer first? Or it's so great to get to hear you sing uninterrupted. Sorry.
I was like, wow, there it is. There's the truth. You wanted me to play Liette too. I guess Cinco, I think it came to me as both, sort of, because it was early on. And I assumed it would never get made like everything else that never gets made that you like. So I mean, we were we talked about it for a couple years before we ever. I mean, it's like, it still is a bit unreal, you know, especially because of the timing and getting this cast. And it's like everybody went to Vancouver, and which was sort of a magical trip that was like, was that a dream? But so I think early on, if I was going to be in it, I'm going to talk about it enough that they may as well call me producer. I'm going to argue with them enough. It's just better if you let me be a producer. Put that by my name.
Kristin, for you, how did the project find its way to you, and what interested you specifically in the role of Mildred?
Oh, well, I had read it like a year before, and I was unable to do. They had done a reading, and I had a family issue, and I couldn't do it. But I knew how I decided to take a part is I know if I sit at home and I watch somebody else do it, I'm gonna be mad. I thought, I'm gonna be mad if I see somebody else do that part, and I was sort of drawn to being able to not just play. I've played many villains. I just haven't been able to look like a villain. And so I got to have the crazy maniacal Joker lips and the hair, and also the challenge of it was Cinco's song Tribulate. I mean, they've all heard it, so you all know that it's long, it's wordy, it was done in one take, and that was a challenge to me. And everybody on this video right here, we're all looking for ways to continue to push ourselves and make ourselves better and challenge ourselves. And I knew I'm talking personally. And then I read it, and I also was so happy that Cecily and Keegan were the heart of it, because it wouldn't have worked otherwise. That is the two key players that had to be the heart. Otherwise, the wackiness doesn't work, and they're wacky too. But they earn it in a way that the rest of us can just. So it just all. And then I heard the music, and I just was like, "This is a no-brainer." This is a no-brainer. I have to be in it.
How many takes did you do of Tribulation? Because it's a full musical number, and like you said, one shot.
Well, it's done in one, but I think, did we do it twice or 3 times?
I think it was third time's the charm was how it worked. Yeah. And we had scheduled the whole day, by the way, and we were done by noon. So that was a good.
I needed to go to Thanksgiving. Okay. I'm
That's crazy. Only 3 times? You didn't want to do it again for safety, or?
when the boss says you've got it, I don't know how everybody else feels, but
okay, a small parenthesis here. She nailed it at the table read.
Yeah, she did. I remember that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With full choreography, probably at the table read.
Yeah, she was on the
There
table.
was some
I was like, Kristin, you don't have to
standing,
do that.
There might have been some standing. It was a real joy. It was a real joy to play such a miserable racist and also what made her who she was. And I've said this to Dove before. And I don't know if Cinco had this in mind when he wrote it, but I always thought Mildred used to be Dove's character.
Yes.
And what made her so mean and upset and angry and mad. And then, of course, when you look into Cecily's eyes going, basically, you're forgiven and you are an asshole, but we love you. And you just go, yeah.
Absolutely.
We all cried the whole time, I think.
Everybody, all of us.
Tears, yeah.
Dove, what about for you? What was it like not only to get to work on this project and play the role of Betsy, but to have people like Kristin Chenoweth saying to you, I see you in me?
Well, I've had the great pleasure of knowing Kristin for almost a decade now, or something crazy like that. So
it's 10 years, baby.
Has it really been 10 years? That's wacky.
Oh.
But I've had the great pleasure of working with Kristin quite a bit, and so this was just another phenomenal experience of feeling like I had family there, and what we were doing was such an incredible feat, honestly. I don't know about you guys, but it was I was nerve-wracked every day because it was like we weren't able to all be in the same room, usually ever. And I kind of had the feeling that we were all on the same page with what tone we were going to strike, but you don't always get to kind of have those conversations before you start filming a project. And one as specific as this, quite easy to be on different pages with sort of what kind of comedy you're going to be doing and how much realism you're going to be introducing to it, and what's the balance between those two things, and how absurd are we really going, and then to be acting against a tennis ball sometimes and never be in the same room as our incredible chorus. It was a bit of it was a big kind of a trust practice, and the fact that we had Cinco and Barry and such an incredible dream cast with us really was what made it I had it in the back of my mind, but I was also very there was a magic surrounding the whole thing.
Yeah.
So really coming to work every day was quite surreal and quite magic, especially walking into those real life practical sets and seeing these dreamy performers across from you. It was really really moving, really wonderful.
I mean, speaking of dreamy performers, I have to ask Anne about working with Alan Cumming because I'm weirdly rooting for this couple and your scenes together. Their relationship is so
not going
sweet.
to end up together, Janelle. It's not going to happen.
Wow, it was a hold up spoiler.
But good friends.
We're very close. Yeah. No, the thing about it is too, it's like, in a way, it's, you look at that relationship and you go, you know, a few years ago, that could have been me, right? Like way before, you know, it was, people were out openly and it was totally cool. I mean, do you not feel like, I mean, Cecily knows, it's like, you know, you've dated your share of gay guys, right? Like you've all been there. And it's like, what if it had sort of been what if I'd been a different time and married my best friend? That's exactly what would have happened. You know, so I just sort of feel like this is a relationship that makes perfect sense, sort of, you know, from the get-go. It's just that it's good that he found somebody, you know, better. and it's good that now I'm free to find somebody better for me.
Exactly.
But I do think that like that whole thing about, you know, caring about somebody and loving somebody is totally, you know, I think it's completely believable. Let's put it like that. As for working with Alan, which I guess was the original question, is, well, you know what an asshole he is. He's only the loveliest man in the world. He is truly, truly delightful and charming and all of those things. Plus, he has that adorable accent. Here's the annoying thing about Alan. No matter what kind of story you want to tell, like you think you've been somewhere or done something fancy, he's already been there and done that. So there's like no beating him. Do you know what I mean? You could be like, I met, you know, I don't know, yesterday, to be like, we had sex in the airplane. He's always going to top you. There's no, you know what I mean? So that's the annoying thing about Alan. Don't you think? Other than that, he's heaven.
Speaking of terrible people, Ariana, you have to share your scenes with Keegan-Michael Key. The majority of them,
an absolute dick.
I have to say, like, just in addition to being one of the nicest people alive, like, you guys have great chemistry. I'm a little bit Team Emma. Sorry, Cecily.
You know,
I appreciate that.
I'm Team Doc too. Sorry.
There you go. You know, there was, you know, the craziest thing about this was like one of the things that attracted me to the project was seeing Cecily and Keegan's names on it, because anything Cecily's a part of, I'm like, sign me up. And having done the prom with Keegan, that was a very different setup to get my drift. So, you know, I went from playing 17 to playing an adult, and I was like, oh, I would share scenes with this man now. Why not? Sounds like fun. And he's such a giving actor. He's, in addition to being like the mayor of Schmigadoon, because it did sort of feel like that. Like he was just, we all laugh anyways, but I feel like he was the first to be like, yo, I found this YouTube video, check it out. Free baby. Like he's just great. But in addition to that, he was an incredibly giving actor, and you just, like, in ways I didn't realize, pushed me to be a better actor as well. And I don't know, it was just like such a nice challenge and experience to play scenes with someone who is so known for his comedic skill set, but he has such depth and gravitas to his work, and real nuance. Some of my favorite scenes that he played in Schmigadoon were with my son. Like, talk about a talent, there's another talent, but to see Keegan work with him, it was really something special. I think I can't say enough about how much I really like Keegan. Good.
I didn't even think about the fact he was the teacher in the prom, and now you're the teacher.
Well, you know, unfortunately, I pointed that out for you. That might come back to bite me in the rear here.
It's called range. It's called range,
darling. No, but you know, we were joking on set one day because I was like, you know, aside from Cecily and I, like, who was your last dance partner, Keegan. He was like, oh, Meryl Streep. And I was like, cool, everything's fine. Like, how do I measure up? I don't know. But I don't know. It was nice to see how much growth, you know, because he had done I know Keegan had done a project in between coming to do Schmigadoon and having wrapped the prom. And I don't know, it was just so interesting to see how time passes between two actors and then see where they're coming from in this new space on this new project and what's their approach here. It was a really beautiful human experience to share with it.
And Jaime, I wanted to ask you about Doc Lopez, because I did not think I would fall in love with this guy when the show first starts. He's so terrible. And I love his arc, and I love his scenes. His scenes with Melissa, Cecily. What was it like to get to play someone who kind of starts off just so insufferable?
It was a very fun character, to be honest. Super fun. I love, his arc. But what Ariana was saying, it's really true. Like, for some reason, we were in Vancouver for 75 days and we couldn't mingle with each other as we wanted because of the cross-contamination and the COVID. But for some reason, magic was all around this project and all around us as individuals and as professionals. We sincerely developed a sincere love and friendship within each other, and without seeing us often as we would have wanted to, because we couldn't, right? So it was like Ariana was saying, generosity all around. When you work with this group of people that are so beyond freaking talented, like beyond talented, and then at the same time they're so generous and they're so giving, and they're always thinking about what they can do to make the experience of their fellow actor better. And just that makes it a very, very special project, like experience to be around. But Cecily, I love this project for Cecily special. And I have said this many times to her face and in public and whatever. Cecily is extremely talented. And even though she's brilliant on SNL, because she is, I think that what this project shows is how incredibly the range that she has and how incredibly talented she is and how beautiful she sings and how incredibly emotional she is when it comes to certain scenes. So I love this project, and of course sharing the stage with her was a complete privilege. But this is what I love about this project the most. We can all have fun. We all love each other deeply. I'm a little, not very happy about the fact that I had one scene with Jane Krakowski, or that's completely unacceptable. But
Cinco, are you listening, Cinco?
Yes, Cinco, are you?
He said I'm taking notes.
Thank you. But it was nice. It was a fun project, and in a way, I don't know if my friends, fellow actors agree that in a way, every Schmigadoonian was like a little mirror of some of the personalities flaws that Keegan and Cecily had. Like I love it when my character goes to Cecily, I'm ready to be whoever you want me to be and act however you want me to act, and whoa, Cecily goes like, oh shit, maybe I'm asking that from Josh, right? So I love that little mirror that all the Schmigadoonians have with Keegan, which is also a lovely human being, and Cecily. But Cecily, you are freaking brilliant, like brilliant,
yes, you
beyond
are.
brilliant. Yes.
You could see why it was easy to fake fall in love with everybody. I mean, you only get a day. So
exactly,
like you meet him for a day and then you got to film it. So
yeah,
we were lucky I could fall in love with all of you in a day, I think.
Even Jane's character?
Especially Jane's character.
You see what she did in that car? Oh my God.
I said, leg up on the side of the road.
She showed up like, wait, what are we doing? Where is everyone? And then just got in that tiny car. Did that big number.
No hands, just like legs, hands.
No
legs.
I love
really all get to meet very much. I mean, we talked through plastic shields and I think so. I think a lot of the magic too is that we made this at a time where we were able to make musical theater when there was no musical theater in the world. All theater was shut down at the time. And I think that was one of the passions of the project that brought this amazing group of people together. And also how smart and clever the scripts were on Cinco's behalf. Cinco really knows and loves musical theater.
Yes.
And there's a deep knowledge. You have to know the projects and the music that he's referencing so well to nail it as he did, to give it an honoring and a love, but also have the joke in there. And I think that's another, Cinco's love for the project and musical theater is the reason we all love it and signed on too. Because I think it comes through in every word and everything that he writes in the show. And I also, I fell so in love with Cecily and Keegan's characters because I don't think you can do Schmigadoon without that. I think you needed that's what made it modern to me. You needed the common day voices of the guy that doesn't like musical theater or that is not a crazy fan. And having Cecily be a fan on sort of that modern borderline that, you know, she knew what everything was so she could fully experience it. But they were more of the outsider of the world coming in with the modern day sense of humor, which I think just put that so over the cleverness top for me that I just loved so much.
And Jane, wherever you go, whatever you're a part of, it's always an amazing ensemble. I don't know if there's a secret to constantly being in these flawless ensembles. Maybe
her
your thing.
It's in her contract.
Who doesn't want to work with Jane Krakowski?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So sweet.
And if you have Jane Krakowski, use Jane Krakowski.
Yes.
Let her put her leg over her head. You know, why not?
Have her use her, please.
Yes.
Sweet.
I mean, that's what everybody's been very nice about Keegan and I, but really, again, you guys all showed up with just the little amount of rehearsal time we got with each other is really kind of shocking for the performances. I mean, the performances, no matter what, if everybody had a year to rehearse, those songs that you guys all did, your songs were so incredible. But just to know that they had no time to rehearse these on camera. And really it was showing up and doing it that day and sort of, so Keegan and I got to be ourselves, just heightened versions of ourselves kind of, but you guys showed up and brought those performances in a day. And I'll just be forever blown away by all of you.
And I think it's important to point out, I don't think everybody knows this, like with very few exceptions, everybody was singing live on set. Like that was all, those were live performances recorded, and you can only do that when you have people like this. And everybody was so consistent. I was blown away that multiple takes and just like, we'd never have to redo takes because there were sour notes or anything like that. It was just like, these people are pros and so good. And so to me, it's a whole other level. Like it's one thing to come and be funny and be dramatic and emotional, but then to add singing and dancing to all that, it's insane. The respect and admiration I have for this cast knows no bounds.
Oh, thank you.
I'm curious because you do have to balance these tones because there are very real stakes. There's very catchy numbers, but it's also, a parody. Where did you sort of find the balance for those tones? Was it in the writing, the performances? Sometimes it's in the editing room.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was something that we talked about all the way through. We wanted to make sure that this is not a spoof. These are not cartoon characters, none of them. They all had to be real, and I think that's what everybody brought to it. But there are also moments, I think suddenly that song at the end of 204 is like a real pivotal moment in the show when I think this show that's making fun of musicals suddenly just wholeheartedly becomes one. That's like a real genuine, that's not a joke song. There are no jokes in that song. It's just like a real, hopefully, beautiful love song, and Ariana and Jaime delivered it so beautifully. But that was sort of the turning point when it's like, oh, this is a funny show about being in a musical, and then, oh, wait, this is a real musical? And then we totally went for it at the end, of course, when Keegan gives in and then everybody sings that very earnest final song.
Was it ever challenging for the actors? I'm curious to sort of find that balance between, I mean, to some degree, you want to be a little over the top. I don't think over the top is a bad thing, but you also have to keep everything so real.
I mean, I can speak to that really quick. That was the biggest challenge for me. But I'm also related to someone that's like Mildred, so I actually know that that's real. So there's a fine line to walk, and I think each of us here know that line. And you know, it's authentic. It's authentic, and it's authentic because of Cinco, like Jane said. But eventually, you've got to take it, and it's got to be that authentic. And it might not be for everyone, but like my brother Mark Chenoweth is Keegan, and he said, "I'm not going to watch Schmigadoon. Okay, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to go for it. I thought you're Traviata, and I'm not doing Schmigadoon." I said, "Okay." So we watched Schmigadoon. He calls me up and goes, "Well, you know, I liked it." And I said, "Well, did it seem fake to you or something?" And he said, "No, it seemed just real. It seemed the pun." He said, and you know, of course, Keegan and Cecily, really, those were the roles that got him into the show. So I don't know.
So your brother is not a fan of musicals?
I'm sorry, me coming from this crazy universe, from Jane the Virgin, for example, that we are living this crazy universe. I think that the trick for all of us as actors is to approach the characters with sincerity and honesty, regardless of if they live in a ridiculous universe or if they live in this parallel universe of what the hell is going on there. Like, I don't know, but I think we all, as fellow actors, just gave in to the characters with sincerity and honesty, and truly believing that we were Schmigadoonians and we live in this town. And if you don't get us, that's your problem. But we are sincerely living here in this moment. And I think that's the difference when you approach comedy, not as not clowningly,
right?
Or but with honesty and sincerity. And I think that made the difference. All of us, I think we.
Well, to me, this is just being in a musical. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's really how we act in a musical. It's like we have to be real or nobody cares about us. We have to believe what we say and what we sing and what we do, because we're actors, and else nobody will believe our characters. But it's heightened because we're in a musical, and we know that at any moment we're going to have to take a deep breath and get through a whole line of singing without taking a breath. Now, it's like, you know, this to me is why it's great to have musical performers in this show, because you understand that line. You understand how you have got to like be real and yet big enough to sell these songs. And I just think that's what's so beautiful about it. I mean, I know that people have said to my face, I'm not watching Schmigadoon because I heard, you know, it's like making fun of musicals. I'm like, are you insane? Do you think I would be in a thing that made fun of musicals?
It's a love letter. To Broadway. It's a love letter to our composers.
That's what I said. I was like, I've got to be kidding me. I was like, and do you think all of my fellow castmates would be in something that was insulting to musicals? I was like, oh, stop right now. Just quit it. You don't have to watch it. You know, we don't have to be friends. But you cannot say that it's insulting to musicals. I won't.
No, and also, I'm sorry, I've got to say this, but it also makes, like, you always wonder, does the Baroness and Sound of Music, isn't she just a little pissed? You know? And I did the movie of Music Man. Is Winthrop her son? You know, and I just love that Cinco wasn't a hat on a hat, but they were just the questions of, you know, and corn pudding, you know, is that the farmer's daughter, or is it, his wife? You know, I don't know. I just loved what he did. So it's so smart.
It's such a great show. I really want you guys to open a theme park so we can go to the real Schmigadoon. I'm shocked to hear that Kristin Chenoweth's brother doesn't like musicals.
I try to tell him who I am. He don't care.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. He's dead to all of us.
Thank you, Jaime. Thank you.
Again, congratulations on such a fantastic series. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for
Thanks,
having me.
Janelle.